And I do have Chase Wilsey in studio, our millennial investing expert from Wilsey Asset Management. How are you, man? Good to talk to you.
Good to be back. I haven't been on in a while.
I know, well, you're busy.
I know.
Chase, of course, running a financial empire with his father, managing money and trying to talk all of his millennial friends into investing. But also, I understand you're trying to get your MBA.
Trying to get my MBA right now. Candidate for it, as we like to say. So
Yeah?
got about
How long does that take?
Takes about 2 years, so I got another year and a half.
All right, so how's it going?
That's good.
You think it's going to help you?
I think so. I mean, give me some good knowledge, a good
Sure.
background and stuff. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, all right, let's talk about a couple of things here. Most notably, obviously, what's going on in the market, and we'll talk about the Brexit in a minute. We had a crash the last couple of days. I mean, it's a full-blown correction. Now, there's a reason for it. If you don't think we're in a global economy, take a look at what's going on in the stock market the last couple of days, and that'll prove to you that we're in a global economy. So if it's not Washington, it's the world. Rarely do we have a pure market where either one of those things are not interfering. What are your clients saying? Is there panic in the streets, or are people understanding this is a short-term problem?
You know, we think we're the luckiest advisor in the world. Well, not the luckiest, but most fortunate, because we have the best clients in the world, we always say. Our clients are so educated and understand what's going on. And out of about 400 clients, we've received 3 phone calls over the last 2 days.
That's it?
That's it. And 2 of them were clients calling to add money to the account. And one of them was a fairly new client that was, a little confused about what was going on, wanted to understand the Brexit a little bit more. So.
Okay. And then so what you do is you go through and you look at what's happening with the Brexit and you kind of walk them through it, right?
Exactly. Walk them through it and say, look, we're getting a great value on these businesses that we're going to own. And I mean, personally, I actually have been doing some buying from my personal account over the last few days.
So here's my question. So let's talk about buying opportunities, because obviously, there's all kinds of things. The trend is your friend, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Obviously the trend is down. It doesn't look great right this second. But let's talk about that. What makes a buying opportunity for anybody, not much less millennials investing?
I mean, what we always do is every single week, and it's Monday, so we go over our numbers for the companies we own, and we say, what kind of value are we getting for the sales, the earnings, the book value of the company, the cash flow? And if we're getting a good value, we say, hey, let's buy this business and let's look 2-3 years down the road. Where's this business going to be then?
So you don't even pay attention to what's going on today?
Not really. I mean, I'm aware of what's going on. I mean, I'm familiar with the Brexit, but numbers-wise, how much does the market drop?
It's not making you do something or making you make a decision you wouldn't normally make, because it's a snapshot in time.
Exactly, because we own these small pieces of large companies. We're a big proponent of Apple Computer. Apple is a great company.
Sure.
They do a great job selling their iPhones, and this is not going to affect them selling their iPhones in the long run.
I think what's important too is it is a snap. I mean, there's a real reason for this. What's going on here? Look at the Dow Jones chart, guys. If you can pull it up for me. We got Murphy working graphics in here, and Michael Darcy's our director. But if you look at, listen. I was explaining this to somebody a while back. I don't know if we still have that chart that I drew that goes back to 2009. But the last time we had a big drop like this, if you took a look at it since the end of the Great Correction, as I call it, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It seems horrible now. Guess where we're at? We are at where we were on March 7th today, if you think in terms of that. We haven't lost that much value in the market. Now, was it ugly at one time? Yeah, it was ugly at one time. And once the fear pendulum swings in the other direction, on a technical basis, you're going to see a dead cat bounce. We haven't found a bottom yet, but we're getting close to it. I mean, it's getting to the point where you're going to see this thing go up. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you should go buy stocks right now. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't. This is not a reason to make a decision, right?
Oh, exactly. And I mean, we saw this back in January and February when the market was just pulling back like crazy. And what happened? It reversed pretty quickly, because I think people started to realize, wait a minute, you're saying I can buy this company at this great of a value? So then that's what kind of swings it the other way. Well,
I think as you mentioned that, as I'm reading the news about this stuff here, if you take a look at some of these things, as long as there's a reason for the drop, I think people are going to be pretty reasonable about it. It's like, here's a chart that I drew a while back. This just goes back to November of last year, if I'm not mistaken. April, May. Maybe it went back to January this year. Long story, it's January. That goes back to January of this year. Look where the 2009 lows were, okay? The last time we saw a dip in January looked very similar. We went from 17.5 to 16, okay? Where are we trading at today? Let me look. Keep that up there for me, guys, and I'll tell you. Right now, we went from 18.5 to 7, where it's almost the same exact thing.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to look like in a long term over the last 7 years. That's not, okay, So you see the little blips up there? Does that seem horrible? Well, it seems like it right now.
Yeah.
I'll do another one of these things for you, and I'll put it up on the website so you can see it. But this is really interesting because if you take a look at where the Dow was back in 2009, all right, we were down below 6,000, 6,500. You know, if you look at it right now, you're thinking, boy, I wish I would have bought Dow Jones ETF because it looks like a bargain there, right?
Exactly.
Right? And we thought the sky was falling. If it was a bargain then, stocks are a bargain now. You just got to find them, right?
Exactly. And I mean, investors seem to sell first and ask questions later.
Well, there's a psychological reason for that, and I'll tell you what it is. And I said this on the air, and I say it, probably once a week. We lament our losses 3 times more than we celebrate our gains.
Oh yeah.
I mean, here, Chase unfortunately was raised in San Diego like I was, and we're stuck with the San Diego Chargers and the San Diego Padres. And it's tough. You think it's tough to be a Chicago Cubs fan? It's way harder to be a Charger and Padre fan. Every time we win, we're happy for a day. Yep. But we lament the whole season all year long, regardless if we're winning or losing. I mean, look at your favorite sports team, it'll tell you that. So we're tumbling the second day after the Brexit vote. Let's talk about that vote itself, because you are a millennial investing expert. What's interesting is the millennials helped usher this in, but very few of them showed up to the polls, right?
Oh yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, and now the millennials are taking to their favorite platform, social media,
right,
to complain about how the vote panned out.
Right.
But you look at a pre-poll kind of survey, you see that 60% of millennials actually want to remain in the EU. And then
But they just didn't show up and vote.
Oh yeah, nearly 20% either didn't know or didn't plan on going to vote. So it's kind of their fault that this got passed through. I mean, if they would have maybe done more research into it and understood it and stayed in the EU, it could have had a different outcome.
Well, the interesting part about this, if you look at if I was looking at social media, if you look at the hashtag Brexit, it is young folks that are doing this thing. Again, knee-jerk reaction. Again, probably no context to what's really going on in the long run. So, what do you tell your friend? Now, this is the last thing I'm going to ask you today. Your constant uphill battle is you're 22 years old?
23.
23 years old. Your constant uphill battle is telling your friends that they should invest. Now, I have an outcome where if you can find $5 a day, 23-year-olds, that's $150 a month. Okay. Do you think if it's hard to put $150 a month now when you're 23, it might be hard for you, right?
Yeah.
When you're 30, you think it's going to be hard? No. When you're 40, you think $150? No. By the time you're 50, if you start now with only a 7% return on investment, let's even say 6, and that's pretty conservative, right?
Yeah, very conservative.
By the time you're 55, you got $1.4 million in the bank, and by the time you're 75, you have $4.3 million in the bank. That's if you never put other than $5 a day away, and you only got 6%. What's an average return over the last 40 years? What, 8 to 10% easily?
Yeah. We always tell clients 8 to 10%, and I mean, I think the big thing for millennials is just don't look at what's going on right now. And I mean, with the Brexit, it's understand what's going to happen long term, and countries are still going to trade with the EU. They're still going to travel to Great Britain. Excuse me. So it's always about looking long term. Don't look at the short term side of things.
Good stuff. Thanks. Chase Wilsey, Wilsey Asset Management. He'll be back next week. Everything you need to know about millennials and the Brexit. Coming up next, we're going to talk to the oil expert and see how this is affecting the oil game and what's going on in your gas tank. It's Biz Brew, U2 America, u2america.com. Stand by.